From Content 360, this is the state of client acquisition. Welcome to the state of client acquisition. This is your host, Michal. This episode is a real fun one. It's a debate between myself and Anric Blatt, who is a finance professional who now is helping people to raise funds. Anybody who has raising money for a fund or who also wants to finance their venture, and he does it by helping them stand out on LinkedIn and to be really good at that. And Anric and I have a bit of a friendly, bantery rivalry going on LinkedIn. We respect each other a lot, so it's all very friendly and above board. But basically the point that we are arguing about is very often whether there is space for personal, vulnerable, authentic content on LinkedIn or whether you should keep it all on business. Now, of course, we agree on 95% of things. It's just that I sometimes post these diatribes against vulnerable content, and Anric sometimes responds and trolls me on my posts where he says how important it is to be authentic and an authentic person. So we decided to battle it out on a Zoom call. Anric invited some of his followers and clients. I invited somebody from my side, and so we decided to talk about it. This conversation is really deep, very rich, goes into quite a level of depth in both cases. Anric presents his entire framework on how he helps his clients win investment. I show my framework. I discuss also why I believe that it's simply better to focus on your professionalism and expertise on LinkedIn rather than on your personal stories, as clickbaity as they may be. And we end up pretty much in the space where we both agree on many things and we just have a friendly shake hands at the end. So if you are looking for controversy here, you won't find it very much. It's definitely a fun conversation, and Anric is quite the character. So in the recording, we get right into the conversation about who was allowed to participate, just for the context, because it starts quite abruptly. Anric mentioned that he had several people who wanted to join, but only selected a few people who were allowed to join. So that's what we are talking about in the beginning. But without any further ado, I hope you enjoy this very rich, varied, and fun conversation with Anric Blatt. And you were so ruthless that you actually told 95 people, no, you cannot join? That's harsh. That's harsh, Anric.
No, I mostly ignored them. I didn't answer. And a couple of people who I know would not be suitable for this kind of forum, I said, yeah, no, this is really for advanced LinkedIn users only.
Oh God.
And
you need to be a cut above.
Well, no, what I did, I just did a free 1 hour session at 10 o'clock. So, you know, loads of people were on that, and that was a lot of fun. But I'm going to introduce you to a couple of my colleagues in crime here in a second, by the way. Let me see. Who am I going to start with? I got to just fix somebody's name here because Grit team member, that's actually, let me rename him. That's actually Rob Napolitano. And if you can't spell it, there we go.
Did you spell it right?
I did. Okay, so
by the way, Anric,
yeah.
Can I quickly, before you roll, I've put together like a 5-minute, not longer presentation just to kind of make my point. Would that be okay to share it before? I'm just asking now so I don't put you on the spot when we're rolling.
Well, we're already rolling by my book. So yeah, of course. I didn't do that at all because I don't need convincing of my theory. So I'm very happy to go with my thesis. Everything I need is right here.
Perfect. So you have a flip chart, I have a presentation. We all work with our media of choice.
Our tools. I am recording this, but what it tends to do, it tends to record me, not the group. And anybody who's in the group, the names are blanked out, so you can remain incognito if you like, in case you are in the witness protection department or something like that. I'm really looking at Damon Matthews there from Texas. Okay, very quick introductions. I want you guys to all meet Michal, by the way, who I think the world of, even though he's wrong most of the time, is Andrew Pancholi, also known as Andy. Andy and I, we met, oh God, must be 20 years ago. We were both members of Tony Robbins' inner circle called the Platinum Partnership, and that's how we met. And Andy lives just outside of London. He is a commercial pilot by training, but he runs a phenomenal kind of market timing cycles analysis newsletter that is targeted specifically at billionaires, ultra high net worth investors, and celebrity hedge funds. Okay, some of that shit I made up. Number two, Andy Smith, with the work gear in the background. He is a blacksmith, but in a venture capital format version, in that he invests in venture capital businesses that really do real things. So they're not kind of digital, make-believe businesses. They are companies that actually make and manufacture things that solve real-world problems. He is based in Alabama in the United States. Jade, I don't know, but she looks South African to me.
Can I introduce Jade? Because yes, Jade is from my tribe. Jade is a client. She's a coach in South Africa. And one of her personal specialties is helping people teaching people about money mindset, how through your relationship with money, you can uncover truths about yourself that otherwise wouldn't have been visible to you. So I found that very compelling, and I'm looking forward to be working with her.
No, that's really, really super. A lot of people think I am South African, except for South Africans. They will come, they're like, hey man, what's wrong with you? Hey, why you talk so funny? They can tell that I'm German and Namibian. So Damon Matthews is based in Texas, I think Houston, right? You're still on mute.
Yes, I'm down in Kima, actually, just right outside Houston on the water.
Fill me in 20 seconds what the business is about. I'm sorry, I forgot. I should have written it down, but I did forget.
Actually, so what I'm doing is basically I'm working on raising capital for business opportunities here in Houston, the energy sector, real estate. There's some tech and some fintech. And my job is a mediator to introduce the people and make sure I don't get basically make sure I'm still part of the deal all the way through, for lack of better terms, of what I've learned the hard way already once or twice. So,
okay, you see, Michal, and this is round number one. You see what I did there? I was just very authentic, and I could have fluffed it, but I said to Damon, "I'm sorry, I forgot." So that is definition of being authentic. So Matt Kalesh, who
100% agree with you, sir,
is in my corner down there. He is the Batman of LED lighting. And he has a specific focus on commercial LED installations, specifically for auto dealerships and the car industry. And I think he does a phenomenal job. He is not a client of mine. So full disclosure, he is just a friend of mine on LinkedIn that pestered me 3 times to get invited to this Zoom call, and I didn't have the heart to say no like I did to most other people.
And he passed the test.
Yeah, because you know why? I have an authentic relationship with him. Yeah, and it's based on the fact that I'm not a business partner of his. I'm not even a target client of his, but I like the way he turns up. I like the way he shows up. I like what he stands for. I have stalked him. I like the way he interacts with people. He even interacts nicely with my competitor on LinkedIn, which I don't appreciate at all.
You have competitors, Anric? You are one of a kind. You're so one of a kind.
There is somebody who gets LinkedIn in our industry, by the way. You know what I mean? So, Michal, I do not view you as a competitor because you do something very different than I do. Yeah, so then one of my absolute favorite people is Rob Napolitano, who just had a haircut because I told him that he needs to get a haircut if he wants to come on Zoom call.
How did you know I was out for a haircut?
Because I told you, like, seriously, dude, you get a haircut, man.
No, I seriously was at a haircut. That's why I wasn't on the 10 o'clock this morning. But I didn't tell anybody that. I only told my team here in the office. How did you know?
Oh, I just thought you took my advice seriously. That's mistake number one.
Literally just got my haircut.
Anyway, so Rob is in New Jersey, and he runs a venture fund type business focused on real estate and the mortgage industry. Very, very interesting business model. And he's in the process of reinventing himself and finding his, I suppose, his authentic voice. And getting comfortable enough to project that on LinkedIn, because that's where the secret sauce and the magic is. And then last but not least, Ron Savino, you're going to be on the spot there because you have to introduce yourself because I can't do it.
Hey, am I unmuted? I got my little headset. Is it working?
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Well, I'm also in New Jersey, like Rob, right outside New York. So basically what I'm trying to do is solve investors' biggest problem, which is negative drawdowns through a tactical hedging program.
Okay, so he is my target audience. I help people like him not suck at capital raising. Make sense? So I build machines like this. Michal calls them funnels or client acquisition methods. I build machines like this that raise billions of dollars for people. So he is in my target audience, but he is not a client of mine. So I think we've got a really nice little cross section here. And thank God that Jade is on board so that my language will be cleaner, hopefully, and my inappropriate jokes will be minimized. Okay, so
that takes away from your authenticity then.
No, not really, because I do know how to behave. And I think that's a very, very good point, Rob, because I always say respectful authenticity is the key, is the magic approach on LinkedIn, in that, you know, and Michal and I, we actually have a pet peeve together. We just don't know it. We actually agree on a lot of different subjects on this authenticity process, in that you do need to be authentic, Rob, but I disagree with people who talk about their divorces and their domestic abuse and drinking problems and all this kind of stuff on LinkedIn. And I'm not saying that you should fake it till you make it. I'm just saying there is a limit to the whole personal and authentic thing. But I want to give Michal the floor for now to establish his thesis and let us see his presentation, because I fear that the longer I talk, the more I'll rob from it. So, Michal, you have the floor.
Perfect. Thank you. Could you enable me to share my screen, please?
Yeah, sorry, I thought that was done. Share screen. All participants can share screens. Okay, so everybody who wears pants can share screens. All right, that should be on.
Good. Can you see the to be or not to be personal on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Good stuff. All right. Don't worry, this is not death by PowerPoint, but it is something of a kind of background thingy that I like to work with slides. So it helps me to structure my own thinking. So it's going to be about 5 minutes or so. So not too long. Anyway, so Anric, as you already indicated, there's a lot of vulnerable posting with deeply personal topics happening on LinkedIn. You just mentioned it, right? This is, I blacked out the names, but there is this, I'm getting counseling because I have challenges with mental health and I cried for hours, I didn't sleep, that kind of stuff, right? We all know that, we've seen it. Now, many of its practitioners are very successful, right? You can be really successful with this, at least from a vanity metric standpoint, but also from a revenue standpoint. And you may be tempted because of that. Some of you at least may be tempted to want to follow suit because so many people do it. But then you realize, damn, I don't have stories of childhood abuse. I don't have depression. I don't have anxiety attacks. I don't have mental health problems. So what am I to do? And your LinkedIn coach may tell you, not the LinkedIn coach on this call, but some other LinkedIn coaches may tell you, well, you have to do something personal because people buy people, right? It's this old adage, you have to be personable, you have to be authentic. And so you start spinning your day-to-day challenges and humdrum adversities into tales of woe and anguish. And this is then what you burn a toast, and on LinkedIn you say, this is really difficult to write and I had to summon all my courage to even
I love that post of yours, by the way. I loved it.
Thank you. Right. So it is quite annoying, right? And this leads to, and I think this leads to, it sort of pollutes the well, because it leads to an overall collective exaggeration of hardships to boost your engagement. You are incentivized to enhance the drama of your struggles. It leads to a victim Olympics, and it leads to a loss of boundaries also, because you're sharing your innermost anxieties with complete strangers. Like, seriously, you're going to do that? And even the queen of vulnerability, Brené Brown, in her book would agree with you, where she says, my name is Brené, here's my darkest struggle. That's not vulnerability. That may be desperation, woundedness, or attention seeking, but it's not vulnerability. Why? Because sharing appropriately with boundaries means sharing with people with whom we've developed relationships that can bear the weight of our story. With 99% of people on LinkedIn, you do not have this kind of relationships, maybe with 10 or 15, but that cannot bear the burden of your vulnerability. But don't get me wrong, it works financially. Look at Shay Rowbottom, over $3 million generated from LinkedIn organically. And her main kind of claim to fame was that she was very open about her depression and childhood abuse, right? And that's my main point here. It's not the only way. And therefore, case study of one of my favorite people on LinkedIn, Chris Walker, CEO of Refine Labs. He has extremely dense B2B marketing content. I'm sure some of you, if you're active on LinkedIn, you've come across him. But like, when I discovered him about a year ago, I wasn't even able to follow what he was saying. There was so many acronyms, so much marketing speak. There was like highly technical B2B stuff that I, who work with, and I've been in B2B for a while, but even I didn't understand him, what he was saying. And it took me a while to get into it. He has 75,000 followers, and he's built an agency from 0 to 50 employees in 2.5 years. And I ran the math, approximately somewhere between 5 and 10 million yearly revenue, purely based on LinkedIn. And the most personal thing I know about him is that he has a dog. I know nothing about this guy, right? Other than his professional background. So to close, yes, it's harder. And I'm, by the way, not saying that I have it figured out, but I'm determined to do it. It's harder, but it's also more rewarding for the following reasons. First of all, look at the numbers. Shay Rowbottom is probably the most prominent exponent of this kind of vulnerable posting, right? The queen of vulnerable. She has 700,000 followers. Approximately, I think, based on what I've heard and so on, even from her, about 1 million yearly revenue, maybe 1, maybe 2, something like that. Chris Walker, 70,000 followers, a tenth of that, 5 million plus yearly revenue. I think it's actually more close to the 10 million mark. So that's one thing, right? These are kind of the opposite poles of the spectrum. And the numbers are vastly different, right? Also, it's more rewarding because it forces you to focus on your craft and be really good at what you do, right? Because you wake up also, the final reason is also because you wake up the next day with the good feeling that you haven't bared your soul in front of thousands of strangers. So my recommendation is study how these people do it. Other names are Stephen Pope and Sam Moss. They also post mostly purely business content, maybe the occasional family picture, but that's it. Study copywriting, grow your expertise, talk about professional topics, and treat personality and authenticity as the spice, not the main dish. That is my main message. Yeah. And I really believe that in the end, we frame this conversation as a debate, of two opposing forces. But I believe, I 100% agree with you, Anric, that you said these stories of divorce and personal hardship are not the right way. And I 100% also agree with you. You cannot purely be business. I mean, I think Chris is an extreme case. I don't even advocate for that. I think a little bit of personal touch, spice is good and is useful, but I think treat it as a spice, not the main dish.
That was excellent. Excellent.
That was my...
Yeah. No, that was super. I really do like that approach, by the way. And let me start with one thing on a response to that, because your LinkedIn profile is your own LinkedIn profile. So I think you can do whatever the fuck you want to, number one. Okay. Like seriously, if people want to unfollow you and they don't like what it is that you're posting, yeah, man, seriously, it's at the end of the day, it's your profile, it's your life, and you can go do what you want. Okay. Now, obviously, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all of those guys, they don't agree with us because they are censoring us every single day. If you write stuff they don't agree with, they kill you, basically, and they take your business and they take your machine away from you. So what I want to do real quick, if I may, is show you a post. Somehow I have Michal on like full screen on a 50-inch screen over here. That's very scary. Let me minimize him a little bit here, and share a post with you where I think it's going too far. There we go. I'm just going to share Google Chrome. Somebody let me know that you can see this. Yeah. Okay. Yep. So here's a lady, Leanne Keffer, who's obviously gone through a really, really hard life. And you look at this post of hers, which is really brave to write, but she is basically totally oversharing. I married my high school sweetheart turned monster. By the time I left him, I had a bullet wound, scars all over my face, scars from stabbing and being ran over by a car, scars in my mind telling me I wasn't worthy of respect from anyone, scars that made it hard to trust anyone. And like, holy shit. And I read this and I was near tears reading this poor woman's story. Okay. Because you can't make this shit up. Yeah, man. This is a horrific story of that she went through. Right. But I'm not anybody to tell you what you should write on LinkedIn or what you shouldn't. Okay. And I mean, you can just see this is a brutal story. 10,000 people engaged with her post and she has 1,600 comments. Now, my problem is people come to me for guidance as they come to Michal and they say, okay, how do I hack this LinkedIn thing? How do I actually use it to drive seats and bums on seats into my funnel? If she has some kind of business that can benefit from this, good for her, but this is really not my kind of content. Her post today, on the other hand, let me find it up here, I'm absolutely okay with, because if you can read it, she talks about prayer and she talks about God. And I'm absolutely okay with that. If that's something you stand for and if something that's important to you, I'm okay seeing a post like this from you once a week or something like that. Anybody agree? Anybody disagree? Thumbs up if you think it's okay.
I'm kind of ambivalent about it.
Yeah.
I just wonder, maybe I'm thinking like once a month, maybe, but I think you effectively only have once a day that you can make an imprint on your business, right? And I presume that that we all are rational homini economici, so that we are trying to maximize impact in terms of business. So I think if instead she had shared something like a really insightful thing that, speaks to what she sells, I think this would have been a better opportunity. But sure, okay. I think it's a matter of taste at some point. What is she selling actually? What is her business?
I don't know, because I'm not interested in, and I think this proves your point. She's selling kindness. You see what I mean?
No, but look at her business. Look at her company profile.
I can speak to that because she's in Odessa, Texas, and Odessa, Texas is the king of fracking right now for West Texas. And so coming from the oil and gas industry, I share that with her. At the same time frame, though, you have Texas is predominantly still faith-based in a lot of ways. You're still going to carry a lot of weight by professing your faith. And I agree, like maybe once a week, once a month, however the case you want to look at it. But if you scroll up, Anric, you can see the company she's attached to a little bit more. SPS, Smart Pressure Control Solutions. that's her business. But like you said, you don't see that right away.
No.
You just see faith-based and like more of a motivational. I thought she was more of a motivational speaker than she was oil and gas. But that's what, to me, what gets me in these profiles is she gives this heart-wrenching story and then hashtag oil and gas.
Yeah.
So everybody in the world is going to see her, and they might go to her company because she's, a victim of domestic violence. But coming from a veteran community, that's one thing we cannot absolutely, I don't speak for every veteran, of course, but for a majority of us that were combat arms, we can't stand that. We can't stand the victimization to move forward with your life. That's something you share with other buddies, your battles, your survivors. But on LinkedIn, it's more business with the occasional happy story or mostly. So
the one guy that I think gets it super right is this nutcase Andy the Blacksmith Smith, okay? If you can see his profile, sure. He stands up for his faith. You look at his hat. Oh, that doesn't take you to his hat. His hat says...
My name is Andy Smith, and I am a husband. I am a...
Faith, family, freedom, and flag. 4 things that he stands for. I know this because he just bought that same hat for me, by the way. So here's a guy, I think he gets it right. Most of the content is business driven, but it's personal business. Makes sense? Because a lot of people will go, hey, man, don't take it personal. It's just business. No, business is the most personal thing you can do in the world. And if you look at his posts, they are very authentic, nice videos. They're branded with his company logo.
Owners, entrepreneurs, and founders. I am celebrating today because I'm outside working, freeing my mind. Thank goodness for awesome Wi-Fi from your phone so that you can still work and enjoy Mother Nature and what's going on around us and the changing leaves and the cooler temperatures.
And then you look at other ones.
Say, here we are on a Saturday, and the journey continues. The grind continues. We are people, so our work, our professional lives, they mesh. And that led me to thinking about priorities. I was taught early.
So very personal videos, right? Where he's coaching the football team. Then he segues to a business.
My name is Andy Smith, and I'm down here in the basement of my house shooting some video for our company today. We've got a lot of cool changes going on and spreading the love and spreading the guidance there. So let me tell you a little bit about Blacksmith Ventures. This is a cool journey
and the reason why people watch the video, by the way, is because they have created a personal connection with Andy Smith. They feel they know him. They feel they trust him. They feel they like him. His videos, unlike a mutual friend of ours, Dan Taylor, don't laugh, Andy, who is constantly talking about bloody commercial property. Like, I want to kill the guy. Like, I cannot stand another single post about commercial property. You know what I mean? And I don't want to comment on his posts, even though I like him as a person, because they're always about the same thing. See what I mean? So I think Andy gets the balance really, really nicely in there. And he is allowing you, and I have it in here, and I'm going to drag Michal into a funnel discussion if he's willing, because he is attracting his audience. He is attracting people that resonate with him. He's highly personal, relentlessly authentic, but respectful. There is no, oh God, I got shot and I got knifed and my wife left me and my dog left me. And now that we've got self-driving trucks, my truck left me. That sounds like a good country song. Yeah, I mean. But I think Andy gets the balance perfectly right. Super right. You build a relationship with him. He has made the digital divide between us absolutely evaporate. And 10 out of 10 for you, I think. Maybe to the point that I would suggest you could now start getting a little more aggressive about your company posts and what it is that you do and so on, because people must be by now asking you, hey man, how do we do business? Hey, are you getting DMs like that?
Yes. And I've been very patient to do anything with that, but yes.
Yeah. So
Can I actually ask on this, Andy? Would you mind sharing, have you gotten actually any real business from this already, or so far still only in conversation stage?
No, we actually got three different layers of business. One was people who were just, hey, how are you doing this on LinkedIn? Right? That's just a service thing. We are trying to attract entrepreneurs so that we can, buy their company or grow their company. We've attracted one company from that. Physical signed the deal, got the product from that. And that's somebody who was just being around the circle. And I'm only really active on LinkedIn. I'm trying everything else and failing miserably at all the other platforms. And then we've attracted 4 different individuals who want to invest with us. And we've not allowed that door open yet. They just
Great. And how long have you been doing this now in this way?
Probably 90 days.
Wow, that's impressive. Very good.
I've been active on LinkedIn, but I didn't make the shift to this until actually meeting Anric and understanding to be relentlessly authentic. And the only way I know how to do it is that, right? And so I draw some boundaries around personal, but to me, personal and professional kind of goes hand in hand in my world, in my mind. And so I've just done that, and I'm very comfortable with video. So I sort of tend toward that because it's quick and easy for me versus putting a picture together or whatever.
Okay. Interesting. Great. Those are great results. For 90 days, you already attracted 1 deal and 4 co-investors. Yeah. It's definitely, Anric, I'm sure you would agree that's a success story.
Yeah, no, I think it's super because, Andy has been almost like a model student for me, because he's like, okay, I'll try that. And then he'll try it, and he won't change strategy halfway through it. He won't flake out. The man is producing content every single day, just like I told him. And it's not bullshit content. He's following all the rules. And this process takes time. I find it normally takes 3 months until you start really seeing the results of that kind of strategy working through. But I love the content, love the approach. And he's kind of now ready for my version, which is like, 2.0, because now it's time to step up the game a little bit and throw a little money at advertising, because it's converting and it's working. There needs to be a little I would say a little automation coming, because I think what we all have to be careful, whatever the LinkedIn gods give, they can take away. And you don't want to rely too much on your entire pipeline and your machine sitting on LinkedIn. In my experience, whatever Microsoft acquires, it eventually destroys. So, and by the way, a email CRM is not a good competitor. Nobody wants to do email anymore. It's like FedEx. You've got to basically send somebody a text and say, hey, I just sent you a document, please sign it. That is, email is good. But I want to get real quick to Andrew Pancholi, who's obviously in a hotel room somewhere in the world. Are you allowed to disclose the location, or is that on an
I'm in Boston today. This one I can disclose, yeah.
In Boston. Yeah. So, Andy, tell us a little bit about your LinkedIn voyage, because you came into this kicking and screaming.
Yeah, well, it sounds like, listening to Andy, that we probably started at the same time. We reconnected socially, and there was a little bit of universal guidance there. The fact that we spoke, not having spoken for about 10 years, and then by the end of the week, we were hanging out, drinking your wine. And basically, I've been following the journey of posting daily. I did find it a little difficult to start with, and I felt more chilled, and I'm finding it easier. But what I noticed was that I had a pretty small, probably had about 1,300 people. Basically found that started increasing quite substantially. It started driving traffic without asking. I think I probably earlier on twice tried to send people to the website, which Anric said no, so I stopped that. But we did get kind of a big boost of traffic going to the website and looking at the retail level products. That's now petered off a little bit. I feel the algorithms might have changed, or I might have got boring. Or originally, one of the feedback from Anric was it was too much, giving too much away. So I'm trying to change that into more of a social sort of blog and more personal stuff coming in. But overall, I mean, I did a poll yesterday, which so far has hit 2,800 views, which is phenomenal for me. That's massive. That's probably the biggest one. And one of the earlier posts has now hit 6,000 views. So it's definitely there. What I do like, though, is trying to go freestyle and bringing people in from different areas and arenas. So I think that's good. I think talking about the lady Leanne from Odessa, I think that sort of stuff is contextual. So if she put that in every now and then, it would kind of help with the bonding. But I kind of like, I think she missed the point. I just don't know what she does. And if she does that a lot, then it actually, you know, personally, I like to see positive stories. You know, I don't mind being compassionate, but I'm not really interested in doing work with people who are victims and losers.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in any negative way.
Ow.
You know, sorry, I don't mean that in any negative way. I'm sure she's a lovely lady, but, you know, it's kind of like, here's what we'd say in England, here's 50 pence. You guys are probably, here's 50 cents, phone someone that cares, because we got to get on with life, you know?
Yeah.
And that sounds cruel, but, you know, it's very easy to get bogged down in the mire and the quagmire with this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And every minute is precious. But coming back to the story, I think it's evolving. I haven't, today is the first time I even hinted at a product and even offered it, because we just wrote the latest letter. And it does look like we have picked up a couple of sales. Yeah, and I'm just looking forward to expanding it. What we are getting is being approached by various people to speak, which is something I do. They are coming through LinkedIn, and you can see there's like interest. So I'm not pitching; I'm just engaging them on a nice sort of.
Yeah. And I think Andy also, you know, just from having seen your posts. Your personal posts actually do really well. And I see a lot of engagement, and I see a lot of genuine commentary and people getting to know you. My feedback is I don't think there's enough of those. You actually, I know this off the record, you have a far more interesting life than you pretend to have on LinkedIn. And you know that age-old prayer, dear Lord, please make my life as awesome as it looks on Facebook. You are like the opposite, right?
I was going to say, yeah, I'm very grateful for everything we have.
Yeah, no, you have a fascinating life, and I could do with more of that, because there are so many dimensions to what it is that you're doing, and I don't see that on LinkedIn. You see what I mean? So for me, especially if we are talking high ticket items, right? There's a big difference if you're trying to sell a $200 widget or something, or course or whatever, versus getting people to part with, you know, $15 million, or getting them to invest, you know, $20,000, or in my case, $380,000 into a mastermind or something like that. You know what I mean? That's a very, very different ball game. So you've got to find your own balance. But I want to give you guys a quotation by one of my favorite guys. Is a guy called Blair Warren, and you can download his one-sentence persuasion course off the internet for $1. And he has a phenomenal thing, which I actually have up on my whiteboard here, because it's a reminder that people will do anything for those that encourage their dreams, justify their failures, allay their fears, confirm their suspicions, and help them throw rocks at their common enemies, right? And this is a very, very powerful statement. And it is at the core of my LinkedIn strategy, because unless we get to know each other authentically, not fake it till you make it, not bullshit, not some, you know, bleeding heart, woe is me, you know, sympathy story. But think of it, how can you encourage my dreams if you don't know what they are? How can I get you to tell me about encouraging, about your dreams if I don't tell you about mine? See what I mean? Let's go to the next one. People will do anything for those who help them justify their failures, because we have all failed. Like I got really good at raising capital because I admitted to myself that I suck at it and that there must be a better way. And I am going to go and find a better way. Make sense? And unless I am leading from the front by saying, you know what, I just stepped into this massive dog turd. Here is how you can avoid stepping into the dog turd. So now, obviously, this language might offend some people, but hey, it's how I talk. If you've been to dinner at my house, I'm like, this is me. This is how I talk. Now let's get into the third one. Allay their fears. How can I find out what Andy Smith's fears are in business or around his family or his ratio of needing variety versus security if we don't talk about it? You see what I mean? Confirming people's suspicions deep down in the funnel. Don't wait for them to say no in your funnel because they are suspicious of something. Call it out by its real name. How can you call it out by its real name if you are not being transparent and authentic about it? Now I get to the last category is people will do anything for those, especially if you help them throw rocks at their common enemies. And this is a very, very big point because, hey, if I wanted to raise money from investors on Wall Street, I would go, all right, let's go find who the common enemies are. The enemy, because remember, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So you've got to go and find the big, ugly, hairy enemies out there in the world. I think Andy Smith does it really, really well. It's coming through on his videos without saying it. You know what I mean? And I think it is a way that without talking about those 5 things in your regular day-to-day LinkedIn world, how do you get to know your audience well enough for that to be an authentic relationship and an authentic, discussion so that you can actually go and build a real funnel that actually converts people that are attracted to you into customers. So I'm going to hand over to Michal at this point for the rebuttal. You're on mute.
There is absolutely no rebuttal. I found that quote very, very good, really interesting. And I feel that it's also possible with this kind of stuff to go into directions that could end up being wrong. For example, in my case, I used to be quite open about my politics, which was, I was thinking that if I do that, then I polarize away those people who probably don't agree with me anyway, but then those who agree with me will be all the more attracted to me and my personal brand. And I changed my mind about this because I have recognized that, yes, you have to pick your enemies. You mentioned help them throw rocks at their common enemies. But if you go down too far a rabbit hole that does not have anything to do with your business, sure, you will get the occasional person who happens to coincide with you, but you will, because the topics that you choose, right? If I started to talk about cultural issues, that I'm very passionate about, then I would be creating too much noise. Of course, many people would disagree with me. I would get into comment threads. I would lose time in silly comment wars. Mm-hmm. And also, I would be not building the personal brand in being the expert that I want to be perceived as. So I think I 100% agree with this quote. I love it. I'm going to use it myself. I'm going to Google it and look at the genesis of it and learn more about it. So thank you very much for that reference. Very interesting. I would just be wary that you can package a lot into this that could get you down the wrong track. Yeah. Right. So love that. You have something on the wall, Anric. Would you mind explaining what it is and what kind of framework that is?
Yeah, and we did not prepare this, by the way. It happens to be left over on my screen I'm recording a program at the moment, which I'm actually really struggling with. I found some feedback on my flagship capital raising program that people thought, holy crap, this is like drinking from the fire hydrant of knowledge, and I don't have 6 weeks. I need results now. So I thought, well, I'm like the famous 80-20 guy. I like to 80-20 absolutely everything. And if there were no ladies present, I could tell a great joke about that, but we'll have to take that offline. The idea was, how can I give 80% of the value of my course in 20% of the time and therefore make it 20% of the cost, okay? And it turned into a real challenge. And the only way that I found that I could do it is by actually listening to module 1 of my course, which is about finding your identity and stamping it in the ground, okay? And module 2, finding your ideal client, is by listening to it and then turning it all off and explaining it in a short version. So this was left over where I'm basically explaining what I think a rudimentary funnel looks like. Now, I'm going to bring the camera a little closer so you can see it. Is that okay? Is that almost legible?
Yep. Good.
Okay. So the idea behind it, Michal, now remember, I do funnels very differently than you, and I do not believe in the 7-step, very simple click next, squeeze page funnel, the way a lot of people do it, because I'm not selling a $200 program or something like that. You know what I mean? So think of, I'm going to pick like Robert Napolitano for this example, right? So right at the top, he needs to be absolutely clear who his funnel is for and who he wants to talk to on LinkedIn. So he wants to talk to, this is not a racist thing, a black guy with a red hat and with a blue feather in it. Very, very specific. You need to know who is your ideal target client, who do you want to have in your funnel, and who do you want to have in your life. Because your identity, which is spelled wrong, your backstory and your why, okay, is going to leave little slots at the top of the funnel that these people either fit into or they don't, okay? Because if you're building a magnet, like Michal just said, and you're building a funnel, it does two things: attract people, but also reject people in a hopefully more respectful way than that. Because once they enter your funnel, so some people call this a dark funnel. I, for years, have built funnels like that, where essentially they are not very simple step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, because people will come into your funnel, right? Here's a guy coming in, and you have left a couple of pots of gold for him, which could be your LinkedIn, your daily posts. It could be PDFs. It could be a YouTube video, however you want to build it, okay? Where there are lots of different little honeypots or pots of gold that they can go and step into. Because if those are actual real LinkedIn messages, video messages, and now remember, for those of you that have seen it, I always suggest that you create 5 LinkedIn video posts that you reuse all the time. One about your introduction, one about your business, one about something else, because as people are stepping into those and looking at those, they get to see the social proof right here. So they are getting to see social proof by others interacting with your posts. So if Robert Napolitano did one about why he loves living in New Jersey, or where he's from and his family history and how he ended up in this business, right? That could be a video post on LinkedIn. Then he could do another one about the greatest thing that he learned from his biggest mistakes. Then there could be one about his business. Then there could be whatever, you know what I mean? You need to make this up for yourself. I have like 7 posts that I use all the time, because people are stepping into them and they're wandering around. But eventually, there is one post down here that invites you to the next step, whatever that next step is. So I actually had a step like that with Michal. I was in his funnel and I had a terrific conversation with him. You see what I mean? I would have done it a little bit better, and maybe he has it and I skipped a step. Some people call them webinars. As you know, I absolutely hate that term, because you're basically, most people, when they get to a webinar, they expect to get 45 minutes of value and 12 minutes of upsell, but it's really 3 minutes of value and 90 minutes of upsell these days. Call it a strategy session. It can be recorded. I have a special, I can't tell Michal this because it's proprietary. I have a special formula for that. And at the end of that, you get invited to a Zoom call, on a one-on-one qualification Zoom call. Pretend we are at the dog pound and we're like sniffing each other out and seeing how it goes. And then mine is on the floor because these things don't stick. Then you get invited to my VIP room, where it is very, very specific. These are the steps that you need to follow in order to qualify and become a customer of mine, because I'm literally building up a wait list. So the next time I go out and raise capital for this particular venture, I've got 49 seats, 48. Oh shit, I've been talking too long. I got 47 seats left, and you better not ask me any more stupid questions, because you've had plenty of time in this funnel to do your due diligence, to get your documents, get them signed. It is a one shot only. You get to become an investor, because if you miss it, guess what? You go back into the main funnel. So that's the short answer of that. That's about as short as I can make it, Michal. But I know.
Question on this.
Yeah.
You mentioned these recurring 5 videos or so that you keep reusing on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Are you saying that you keep, like, once a week, you post one of those foundational videos on LinkedIn?
No, I have the post, okay? And I've created the post. And I have on my notes section, I have a link to my 5 handy LinkedIn posts. For example, I have one when I make a new connection on LinkedIn, right? If it's an outgoing connection request, I have a slightly different version of a post. Okay, it's an existing post that exists on LinkedIn, where I go, hey, thank you for taking the first step and making the move to become a connection of mine. Did you know, by the way, that the LinkedIn algorithm requires us to have 2, interactions to consummate this marriage? If we don't do anything, if you don't send me a message or comment on one of my posts, LinkedIn basically goes, this was a lousy first date. Let's not repeat it. If, however, we comment on each other's posts and we send each other a message, that is 2 engagements which make us a real connection. So here's what I propose. Write something in the post down below and, tag me, then I know that it was you, and I will come in and I'll follow and tag your post. So immediately something happens. I have displayed my authentic personality with my totally off color and stupid jokes, because as you know, with Germans, if you are born German, they remove your sense of humor along with the foreskin. And now you're in trouble, okay? So, but it's you see what I mean? It's authentic. It's authentically me, right? So
Love it.
That's one video. Then I have a second one where basically for every connection, when people connect with you and then 3 seconds later, they try and sell you some stupid shit and you've got no engagement with them, you don't know who they are, I send them my butt sniffing video that I made about why LinkedIn is like being at the dog park. Yeah, I mean, so what's interesting out of that, so I have a couple of standard video posts. I don't repost them, but they're there. And they are all the time gathering social proof. People writing on those, people writing comments on those. Like that, I have some posts that even though they're a year old, they are still alive. So when I go to Shield, I see that there's still a green dot on them and they're still growing. And some of them have like 3.5 million views.
So interesting. So you then, as the first conversation that you have with them, you send them a link to that old post where you invite them, for example, to comment on each other's stuff.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's a really good idea.
And so I have like 7 of them. Yeah, I mean, and if I was like in Robert's position about his business, right? He has a very unique business. I would talk about that, but then I would talk about my personal life and, how growing up in a Sicilian mafia taught me 5 things about doing business in the real estate world, whatever, you know what I mean? And just something engaging that is fun, that is entertaining. If I was Andrew Pancholi, I would talk about, here are the 27 things that I learned about being a senior check captain flying 747s and 777s that you can apply to your investment procedure, and something like that, but leave it as a post, because LinkedIn hates it when you send people away off the platform, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. The more people are paying, paying advertising dollars to do that, the less effective your strategy is. But if you're just linking them from one place in LinkedIn to another, LinkedIn loves that all day long. All right, Damon has a question.
Sorry to interrupt the flow, Anric, but I do have a legitimate question, because like we discussed privately about this deal that we just went through, I think there's a lot of valuable learning points on that, but at the same time frame, I feel it makes me look vulnerable to, like, I didn't do, like, maybe there's some steps that I missed that a more seasoned broker might have noticed, or that maybe a more senior investor would have picked up on that I missed as a military analyst with 18 years of experience. So is there a balance between being vulnerable on a personal level, but also being vulnerable at a business level?
Yeah, I think so, tremendously so. And I'm sure Michal will have a different approach to that with maybe the same result. Is nobody wants to do business with somebody who is like a screw up and who just sucks at it. They're like nobody wants to do business with Mr. Bean. You see what I mean? But if you showed how you learned 5 things from hanging out with Mr. Bean for the weekend, people will like that. If your failure is in the distant past and things that you've learned on it, and that your post or your video adds value to your audience, I say, why not? If it's showing how you are currently a fuck up, no, I wouldn't post it. Michal, what do you say?
Yeah, no, I agree. And this very much reminds me of a saying that a very wise woman named Jade Feder said, which is share the wisdom, not the pain, right? So it's very much in line with that, where you say you share what you have learned from the hardships, but there needs to be a very clear delineation. The hardships really need to be far gone in the past. And there has to have been a moment of catharsis in between.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. You just said it nicer. Very, very, very nicely put. Seriously good. Seriously good job on that one. Catharsis. You see that? English is not your mother tongue either, but you seem to do it better than me. What is your mother tongue actually? Is it Czech?
Czech.
Yeah. Oh, you're Czech. Yeah. But you speak German too.
Yeah.
Okay. Where else do you want to go? How about you tell us how you build funnels?
Can I comment a little bit on your outline there? I found it very compelling. I just want to kind of, maybe for everybody, there could be a few thoughts that I have that could kind of complement this, what you showed, because I think it's great. So my framework is, I call it the funnel and the pot. And what I'm mentioning here, and maybe Anric, this is something you have not emphasized now, I would be curious to hear what you do with the following. Namely, if you take 100 people of your target market, only 5 of them will be problem aware and pain aware enough that they want to act. Let's say 5, right? 5%. The remaining 95% are on a spectrum from don't even have a pain, are not pain problem aware, and so on, to maybe want to work with you, but now is not a good time, or they cannot afford you, whichever, right? It's the 5% versus the 95%. I believe, and I wonder where in your framework you have accounted for that. I'm sure you have, but I'm curious to see where. I say that for these, you need to have a completely separate, sort of almost like Chinese walls between it, with a little few permeability points, but they have to go down a very different route. The first one is the funnel, where And by the way, Anric, when we spoke, I did not have that built out yet. I'm constantly building it, and it's getting better. So you are right. I did not do it as well with you as I would do it now.
Yeah.
But the first part, the funnel, is where you essentially nudge people down the route. It's very similar to what you showed. However, with a few more twists. Specifically, what I do is I do first a 15-minute introductory call. We just get to know each other. And then if we see that there's a potential fit, we do a 60-minute follow-up. In between that, I have a video, an in-depth video where I explain my methodology. This, I ask them to watch it. And if they feel that this is not a good fit, then to cancel the booked meeting. This has just increased my conversion rate on the long calls like by 100% because I nicely polarize people away, because in that video, I also say, yes, there is an investment and you will need to invest at least 10 hours a week on this. And some people say, not for me, and I save myself the time. So that's one, I call it different funnel lubricants along the way, right? So that you can nicely slide down better. Another example of a funnel lubricant is when somebody on a call tells you, I need to think about it, right? Which is legitimate. Some people use it as an excuse, but some people really need to think about it, want to talk to their wife or whatever. For them, I have created a 5-email drip. I schedule a follow-up call 5 days from now, and I do a 5-email drip where I just tell them a few more things about my program and how they would benefit from it. That also has helped me. I don't have enough data on this yet. This is relatively new, but I believe that it has helped me to boost my conversion rate from those people who say, I need to think about it. But that's the funnel part, right? This is for the 5% who are ready to act. For the other 95%, we create what I call the pot. And this is because it's like peas in a pot or pasta. They just slowly simmer into perfection because you don't know when they will be ready. They could be ready a month from now or a year from now. I recently had a guy reach out to me saying, I've been following you for a year. I never heard his name, but he was on my email list. He was following me on LinkedIn, and he just said, okay, now I'm ready. Let's talk, right? And so this is a great content environment. And Anric, this is maybe where we slightly disagree, where I really believe in a multimedia approach here. So I do believe in email as an ancillary thing, where if you're on my email list, that you also get some additional added value from me, right? In slightly different format.
I can actually back that up because I actually read pretty much every email you send because the value is there. You're not selling me stuff. You're not pushing me into a ClickFunnels type approach where I'm just getting blasted every single day and basically being trained to ignore you. I think you are one of the few people that get the balance right of your emails. I think they're very well structured. The content is excellent. And I think they work wonders, but they work wonders because you and I have a personal relationship. Which was created on our Zoom call. And without our Zoom call, you would just be another pretty face on LinkedIn.
But I think that is in the nature of things. You cannot have Zoom calls with 100 new connections every week, right? That just won't work. So you need to pick your battles and then I just simply have Zoom calls with interesting people that I find would be worth my time, even if of course, with prospective clients, of course. But if somebody where I don't think, but it's just an interesting person to talk to, let's talk, right? So I think that's
so you and I have a similar approach. What I do with my own pot, so not the ones I build for my clients, but my own one is maybe because, be careful, authenticity share coming here. I am really awkward about asking anybody for money. I'm okay asking you to invest $100 million into my fund, but don't ask me to split the bill over dinner and go and tell some guy that he owes me $500. I just can't do it. To my wife, who's listening in the background, I drive her crazy because I will come out of Costco or something like that, and I will have bought something, and she will go, "How much was that?" And I'm like, "Yes." I have no idea because I have an issue with that, right? And if somebody, business is very, very personal. And when you put your life into your business, it gets even more personal. And therefore, the rejection that you get when people ignore you, I find very painful. So this is me. This is me personal. Some people, they don't give a shit. They just, oh, it's numbers. Next. Yeah, I take it so personal. I won't tell you what I do to you if you reject me. Yeah, I will find you. I'm a little Liam Neeson-esque in Taken. Yeah, I will find you, and I have a particular set of skills, and I will keep dropping you into my funnel until you say yes. No, I'm kidding. I create this pot of many pots, and then I mix it up with, I'm going to give you an opening into my VIP access today. I just did one this morning. There were like 60 people on it. You know what I mean? And then you get to see the social proof as I'm interacting and I'm giving without asking. And you get to see the interaction, and the people that are gentlemen, the people that are getting loads of value out of my approach and out of my training are automatically going to sign up. Yet then there are other people I call them, they have T-Rex arms. Their arms are too short to reach back there into their wallet and pull out a credit card. Okay. So those people, eventually I call them out on a Zoom call. I'm like, okay, dude, this is the 12th Zoom call you've been. Do you have T-Rex arms? And they go, what do you mean T-Rex arms? Your arms are too short to reach your wallet. And guess what? They don't come back. And I'm okay with that, because they're not rejecting me. They are just too stingy and they don't want to pay the money. You see what I just did there? I basically took my own authenticity or lack of confidence and flipped it around in my own funnel to the point that I'm basically kicking you out. You're not rejecting me. Okay. I'm sure Jade is going to have a field trip with this, but it's how I make my funnel work for me. You see what I mean? So like that, I believe no two funnels should be the same. And the process that you design to bring your solution or bring your happiness to your client should be designed to make it actually really, really work for you, so that it's authentic. Then it's no longer work. Then it's just literally going, okay, it's a new day, like Michal and his 5 a.m. club, by the way, which we want to talk about shortly. Let's just go and apply the steps, because people are rejecting the process, or they don't have enough money, or they haven't spent enough time in the funnel. They are not rejecting me. So that's how I basically hacked my own system.
Who would have believed that we essentially agree on 95% of things, Anric?
Yeah.
Right. On that note, could I ask maybe for a favor?
Yeah.
Okay. So because right now I am not very much focusing on LinkedIn, I'm completely overhauling the learning portal for my clients. That's what I'm working day and night on. And I'm just posting one daily post, not engaging with anyone else. So right now is not representative of my LinkedIn performance. Yeah. However, I would still love if you could spend a few minutes, if we could look at my most recent content and you could give me your critique, because I do want to learn from you. And after I finish my overhaul of the client portal, I'm going to go all in, really hardcore going onto content. And I want to maybe implement some of the things that you teach. So would you mind giving me the honor of looking at my content and giving me your take of what I should improve?
Well, if there is something, I find your content generally very, very good. It leaves me kind of wishing for more, and I suppose that's the way you should leave a good date, right? So yeah, let's go check. So the thing that I noticed, can you see the screen okay?
Yep.
So everybody can see it. So the thing I noticed right away when you do comment on things, which is not a lot, by the way, is the thing I was just talking to people in my previous training about your headline. Split your funnel into one high intent conversion machines. it's alluring enough to me to want to go click on it. That's because I actually know what a funnel and a client acquisition machine is and all that kind of stuff. I bet that a lot of people who actually need your help, Michal, have no idea what that is. So that's a choice for you to make. Mm-hmm. But then, all right, let's go to your profile. Because remember, the only thing that people see is that kind of first line, huh? Maybe up to here. That's it. Yeah. And that's
profile I think I'm relatively comfortable with. I would love to get your take on my content if you don't mind, but we can easily cover both. That's fine.
That's cool. No, that's cool. I mean, you certainly are not lacking of, followers. I think you have plenty there, but all right, this one is obviously self-serving. So yes, obviously the 5 a.m. club is intriguing because I'm thinking all the time, is this fucker just literally setting his alarm clock and then going back to bed? Or is he sitting there basically programming the clock for those days, taking a screenshot and taking a screenshot? Or is he actually getting up?
Oh, yeah, I could do that. I could be doing that. That's true. Okay, I will have to simply take a photo of my watch as I'm outside running. Okay.
No, but what's cool about it is that in itself would be a great once a week post of absolute engagement where you can go, yeah, so this German nut job, Anric, said that I just take screenshots of my clock and do them all once a week and get them in a row. Here is my proof. Anric, I'm actually running. By the way, I think you could do with doing some more running. Anyway, so, I think that is an improvement to make it more real, make it more authentic, and invite more engagement. The one of yours that I absolutely loved was the toast. I burnt the toast one. But yeah, I mean, there's some people, they do this all graphics, all text stuff that we're seeing right now. This just doesn't work for me. I never read them. But there are some people who do. I need some kind of clickbait to go and look at it. I'm very, very visual.
Yeah. But so visual clickbait. Okay.
But you look at, and remember having these pictures all the same is training your audience to ignore the post.
Oh, interesting.
So I would
like different labels on it, or
order 5 different very cheap clocks from Amazon, and have different clocks for different days.
Cool.
Because this now, even though I am interested in you, I like what you're posting, I never really engage with this because, number one, you getting up at 4:59 versus my 6:59 some days, it makes me feel bad about myself. And number two, I don't want to acknowledge that you're more awesome than me. It's true. It's talk about a lesson in human psychology here. I mean, you might get me the first time. That one is obviously about you and I, so that doesn't count. But you see, this is what I said to Andy Pancholi. Do not train your audience to ignore you by being too predictable. Don't have all your videos look the same, because people assume they're the same. You know what I mean?
Great. I love it.
You see, for me, this is very, very subjective. I am an anti-podcast guy. I am a goldfish. I have the attention span of about 10 seconds. I did a video on that, by the way. People don't have short attention spans. They have short consideration spans. So podcasts are too long for me, but some people absolutely love them. You see, if I compare that to, let's go to Andy Smith. God, this is very slow here today. But luckily, the tree cutting stopped. In my earlier Zoom session, they were chopping trees and putting them in a mulcher during my whole Zoom session. It was fascinating. The amount of noise was mind-blowing. So I look at Andy's content, and he's got, 20% of your followers, but you've got to see his engagement levels. It's off the charts, whereas your engagement level is actually pretty benign. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Do you see how there is uniformity in it in the logo, but every video is very clearly different as you're scrolling? Because the number one challenge of LinkedIn is how to get people to stop scrolling and get dwell time, right? So do you see the variety here?
Yeah. So the variety is the thing that matters.
And the engagement is always very, very good on his posts. You know what I mean?
You're not in a pod, Andy? In an engagement pod?
Well, I found a community on LinkedIn on social media.
Well, one second. I can actually answer that. So technically, LinkedIn is an engagement pod. Essentially, all of my students are, for the first couple of weeks, are in a pod because I'm teaching them how to do it. So obviously, they're going to turn up and I'm critiquing. So it's kind of a de facto pod. And in that process, people get to like each other. So then they automatically keep posting on each other's stuff. So yeah, I mean, you'll probably find that on Andy's posts, he has a lot of comments from the same people that are commenting on my stuff too.
Yeah, so it's like a community.
Yeah, but my competitors are on that too. Some of his colleagues, Laura Louise. But no, I see he's doing the right thing because he is getting lots of slowly but surely, he's getting outside and second connections and third connections commenting on his stuff. But you got to start somewhere.
Great. No, that's
so
great engagement. Yeah.
Coming back. So on yours, yeah, you're losing me. It's all too white, too much white background for me,
Okay.
And I think you're so good on video. You should just do more of them. So that's my number one thing. Obviously, polls would work really well for you, given what business you're in. Unfortunate thing with polls are once you answer one of them, you get to see them all day long. And also, I think the big lesson, by the way, is that there are two different algorithms, right? There's the desktop algorithm and the mobile algorithm, and they run a completely different set of responses, weightings, and behavior of your own profile and your feed. Generally, the things that you respond to on your phone, you will see more of on your phone. The like button is very easy to do on a mobile phone, so it carries less weight. Comments are more difficult to do on a phone, so they carry more weight. So I always mix it up. I do desktop stuff, and then I take this with me into the jacuzzi. And whilst I'm having my coffee in the jacuzzi with my LinkedIn assistants, Romeo and Giuseppe, you will see me doing mobile response. And I find that mix works very, very, very well. So yeah, and number one thing I would do, Michal, is more graphics and more video.
Good. Excellent. Good advice. Thank you.
And I think a little bit about your business, because I think it's actually interesting. So like you're the one guy that could probably post a little more about your business, or an invitation to a weekly Q&A or something like that. I mean, I found that works really good by mixing existing clients with new clients, with all sorts of people that are in your funnel. It's a nice little recipe. It's like in German, you'd say an Eintopf. When you're cooking in a Dutch oven, you throw all the ingredients in together, and most of the time they really work. And if they don't work, you can just mute the person or block them.
Yeah.
Okay, so look, I think we've discussed, I think, the subject pretty well. The big, I think, learning curve for me as we started this discussion, is that I think personal, relentless authenticity is good, but keep it clean. You know, there is a limit. There is a threshold for everybody. That threshold is slightly different. Some people have a much higher tolerance. Some people get offended with any kind of personal content. Well, I'm quite happy to show you the door. If you're going to come and say, hey, this is not Facebook, you know, I'm like, yeah, that's why I deleted my Facebook account. People like Andrew Pancholi, I would love to see more of, you know, because I think your personal content is so good and you need to connect more with people. But I don't think that Michal and I actually really disagree that much at all.
No, exactly. I agree. And I think that several of the things that we got into disagreements about in the comment section was simply me slightly overemphasizing a certain angle that I have, because I'm so personally allergic to this kind of vulnerable content that I sometimes overshoot, sometimes for dramatic purposes, sometimes not so deliberately. So I think this is where our original disagreement may stem from. But I really want to thank you for setting this up, and I really took a lot of notes. And as I expected, I learned a lot from you. You have a very unique angle, I have to say, to LinkedIn. And ultimately, I think there's one thing that you said that is so supremely right, which is the no two funnels are and should be even the same. You really need to work on your unique recipe. That is, I think, a key message that I also want to convey to my clients and to my audience. I think it is absolutely right that you take the help of a coach who can help you find your voice. But you will really only start really taking off when you research this yourself, you see what works for you, and you dare to go your own way and stop copying someone else's recipe 100%. You can be influenced by someone strongly even, but still the certain flavor needs to come from you. And I believe this is where the real authenticity comes from that you, Anric, mentioned.
No, I thought that was lovely and wonderful, guys. So thank you very, very much. Jade, I'm going to connect with you because I'm intrigued with what you're up to.
Thank you, Anric.
And anybody have any more questions that you want answering real quick? Because it's not often you get, you know, two guys like this on a Zoom call. Ooh, crickets.
One question, Anric. And Michal, do you automate your final step in the funnel? Is all that automated? Because it sounds very sexy as far as the email drip, 5 days and all that.
Yeah, so some parts, like for example, putting the person into the email drip, that is manual because I have 2 different email drips for 2 different cases, 2 different scenarios. So I have to put them into it, but then the emails go out automatically. Yes.
And who's your provider that you use for this?
ActiveCampaign.
ActiveCampaign. Yeah, you see, I'm lucky. I run all of my digital content on Kajabi. So Kajabi comes with a mailing system in it. Its open rates are dismal because the metrics on the email deliverability for everybody who has a Kajabi course is shared across the platform. So, you know, I find no outgoing marketing works at all, but I'm not using it for outgoing marketing. I'm using it as FedEx to deliver you stuff.
I had the same problem, Anric. My course is built on Kartra, which is similar to Kajabi. And when I send out emails via Kartra, the deliverability was horrendous. That's why I switched back to ActiveCampaign, which was my original one. And the deliverability is perfect.
Yeah, no, that's really good. That's really good advice. I like to, let's do a little advanced training here. I like to do a little swing the monkey is probably the best way I can visualize it. Swing the monkey between LinkedIn and my email database. So very often you will see like this morning's, call invitation to this morning's training session, Andy, you would have seen it, came through by email. And it came through by email when you registered, then it came 24 hours in advance, then it comes out an hour before the actual call. So it's literally doing the stuff that I can't stand doing. But at the bottom of the invitations, you will see my top 5 LinkedIn posts together with a thumbnail. So I drive a lot of traffic to my LinkedIn profile. And in LinkedIn, I push you to sign up, but never without showing you the content first. So I make the sign up optional. Don't make it a gate, Andy Pancholi. Like if you're going to go and give people value off the platform, give it to them, because the honorable ones to whom it actually is relevant, who liked it, who engaged with it, will automatically sign up, and you can do that sign up as a pop-up. But don't send them to like, oh, here's a little, a little click tease, I call them, and then you need to sign up in order to get more. All you get is people's fake Hotmail accounts anyway. So, I always say, deliver the value and the people will come. And make that systematic. I'm a twice-a-day poster, generally, on purpose. And some days I just go, oh, you know what? I'll post 3 times, even though I know that post number 3 is going to cannibalize post number 1. But it's a matter of doing what I think suits you nicely. And in that process, I'm constantly swinging people between LinkedIn and my CRM, LinkedIn CRM. And the balance, if you don't overdo it, people are actually quite cool with it. I think it works quite nicely. But I think Michal's emails work very, very nicely. Do you have a website, a sign up, something like that, where people can sign up and see what you're doing, Michal?
Yeah, absolutely. It's www.michaelbohannes.com, Michael spelled without an E.
All right, let's put that in the chat.
And it's /subscribe. You can do that, or you can click on the subscribe link at the bottom.
Michal Bohannes, double N, right?
No.
Just one. I almost screwed it up. michalbohannes.com. Okay.
/subscribe, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So definitely check it out and sign up. Look at his emails. I think they're pretty amazing. And if you find him on LinkedIn, go find his I Burnt the Toast post. I thought that was amazing. And if you could redo that post with an actual video of toast burning, I think it would be quite amazing.
Awesome. Good. I'm going to riff on this. I think this is quite funny and I enjoyed writing that. So.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, that was awesome. Thank you for everybody for turning up. Hope you guys got some value out of it. And are going to say so in the public forum. Remember, LinkedIn needs your comments.
Thanks so much for organizing, Anric.
All right, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you.
The State of Client Acquisition is a Content 360 production. Music by Gavin Knox-Grand. To sign up for alerts and to submit written and audio questions, go to stateofclientacquisition.com. I'll talk to you in the next episode.
Montreal girls in the tail end of winter. Caffeine burned, wide awake dreams and color.